Hello everybody, my name is Lora Peppers. I am a genealogy associate here at the Ouachita Parish Public Library, and today I thought I would give you a little bit of Mardi Gras spirit. Unfortunately, we're not parading this year due to COVID, but things will be back bigger and better next year. As you can see, I am a Duchess with the crew of Janus, and I'm wearing my sash and my tiara. Fortunately, they've extended our reign, and the royalty will get to ride next year and preside over our parade. What I'm going to talk to you today is a little bit about the history of Mardi Gras in Monroe, as well as some facts and things that you might not know about being a member of the crew and riding the floats. Our history, most people think that we started Mardi Gras celebrations around 1984 when the crew of Janus first began parading in Ouachita Parish. Actually, Mardi Gras celebrations began very much way back into the 1800s. As a matter of fact, the first instance that I can find of a celebration in Ouachita Parish was a Mardi Gras ball in 1869. There was just a tiny little paragraph in kind of an offhanded way saying that they had had a ball at the courthouse of all places. So they were celebrating Mardi Gras in this area, but most of Monroe society would ride the steamboats down to New Orleans to catch the parades down there. The Ouachita Telegraph, over several years in the 1800s, tried to get a parade going in Monroe, but that really didn't take off. They just had Mardi Gras balls in Monroe for those who stayed in town. The first instance of a Mardi Gras parade was actually probably around the year 1930. In 1930, an African American businessmen's group called the XYZ Club got together and decided they were going to throw a Mardi Gras parade. They elected a king and queen of the crew. We do not know what the crew's name was. However, the king and queen were called Zulu. Now, what they would do is the king would appear on a barge, come up the Ouachita River, and dock at the foot of Pine Street. He would then lead the parade through town up to Sears Street, and usually the parade would end at the Miller Roy building, which is the building across from the old city cemetery in Monroe. As a matter of fact, that building is now going to be preserved and turned into housing. I'm so thankful for that, since it's a very historic building. But at the top of the Miller Roy on the third floor was a ballroom called the Savoy, and that's where they would hold the Mardi Gras ball, have an all-night party celebration. And I've seen instances where they would put the speakers in the windows so the people down below could hear the music and party. So the party spilled out into the streets. We don't know very much about these early parades because it was an African American parade. The white newspapers didn't really talk about it except in an offhanded way. One thing they did say was that sometimes Governor James A. Noe, who created KNOE here in Monroe, he would allow the king, to use his yacht called Noe's Ark. And so the king would arrive at Pine Street on a yacht. But the king and queen were always elected. The queen was usually a high school girl. We have a few names for the queens. The kings were also elected. We don't know as many of the kings' names. We do know one that was pretty famous in this area. He was a vaudeville stage artist. His stage name was Booty Jim, but he led the parade one year. And the newspapers said that the king wore red knee breeches and a red coat, and the queen was decked out in green. So we know that the colors were probably red and green, Christmas colors. Anyway, those parades kept going every year till the 1960s. They stopped parading, but King Zulu and a man named Frank Perkins. Frank was the president for many years of the local XYZ Club, and he was also a local MC, very well known in the area. decided he was going to dress up like the devil. And the king and his court and Frank Perkins dressed as the devil would go and visit the local businesses on Mardi Gras Day. So the celebration continued even after the parade stopped. The last instance we find of any type of celebration was in 1962 or so. We don't really know when the parades ended. They just kind of faded away. The 1980s arrived, and the local JCs decided that they wanted to do a parade for Monroe. There were no Mardi Gras parades outside of the southern parishes. Why not have one in Monroe for locals? It is a Louisiana celebration. Why don't we have any up here? So they got together, the regular Twin City JCs as well as the women's JCs, and created some floats. The newspaper articles in the New Star World said that they worked 12 to 14-hour days in a muddy warehouse on the south side of Monroe just to decorate and fix up these floats. And the first parade, I found a map of it in the New Star World that shows the parade route. They started at 18th Street, turned right on DeSeard, and went up DeSeard Street across Endham Bridge, turned right on Trenton Street, continued down Trenton Street, up the Lee Joyner Bridge, then left on Riverfront, and ended at Forsyth Park where they had a big ball. Nowadays, the local crew has their Mardi Gras ball several weeks before the parade, but this time they had their balls after the parade, and they would give out prizes for different things, best float, that type of thing. They decided to concentrate more on the floats rather than cars and things like that. Floats and marching bands is what they really wanted. And they actually, I found, got Mr. Mardi Gras himself out of New Orleans, Mr. Blaine Kern, who just died last summer. He's well known for the Mardi Gras floats in New Orleans, but they had him come up and design a few floats for the crew. And I believe they're still in use. I'm going to have to check with the crew next time we have a meeting. But anyway, they soon became their own entity. It's now the Twin Cities Crew of Janus Incorporated, and they parade every year. This is the first year in 30 some odd years of parading that we will not have a parade. It would have been held last Saturday. But which is very, very sad, but it's strange times that we live in. But each year, crew royalty is elected. We have a king and a queen, and I'm sure, by the way, this is probably true for the new crew as well that just got started, Crew de Riviere. So now Monroe has two crews. And by the way, I forgot to mention that Shreveport decided that they wanted to get in on the parading a few years after Crew of Janus got started, and now they have 2 or 3 parade groups as well. Now you can see several parades in North Louisiana. Winfield used to have one called the Crew of Kingfish, which I thought was neat. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what it's like to be a member of the Crew of Janus, what are the expectations and things, what we do. During the year, we meet monthly. Now we're online and for the foreseeable future till the pandemic's over, but we meet to discuss business topics, fundraisers, appearances, and things like that. We try to get together and have a party about 3 or 4 times a year. Usually the cocktail party, which is where the new royalty is introduced. That's usually late summer. The grand ball held just before the parade. We're all decked out in 4-length gowns and tuxedos, and the court is introduced in all their finery. It's a lot of fun. I hate that we didn't get to do that this year. We have Halfway to Mardi Gras party. We have the 12th night celebration. that's usually when the king and queen show off their new duds. So we missed all that this year. And we have several parties throughout the year like that, and have a lot of fun. Anyone in the community is welcome to join. You can go to the website and see our membership form there and just kind of check us out. The crew royalty is elected from membership in good standing. You have to have been with the crew at least a year before you can become a duke or a duchess. And this past year, I decided I wanted to be a duchess, so I threw my name in the pot, and I won. Usually there are 3 duchesses and 3 dukes, and each duke and duchess is given a sash. This is mine. And a tiara. Usually the duchesses purchase their own tiaras. This year, our queen gave us our tiaras when we were introduced to the court last year. So what the purpose of the dukes and duchesses is to support the king and queen in all their public appearances and to kind of represent the crew. Now, once you have served as a duke or duchess, then you can run for a king or queen. As a matter of fact, our current queen, she was a duchess last year, and she ran and was elected. Janice and her husband Leo are our king and queen this go round. King and Queen Janice the 38th. And again, I'm sure this is true for Riviera as well, some of their processes and things. The king and queen are pretty much the face of the crew. They also do the public appearances. They lead the children's parade every year. They lead the pet parade on Trenton Street, and they are in the parade, the main parade every year that night. People have asked me if I was going to run for queen, maybe sometime down the road, but that's definitely in the future. It's a lot of work to do, but we have a lot of fun. The limited appearances that we've done have always been a lot of fun. In the library's collection are some Crew of Janice and Riviera items that we have. I brought some of my personal masks and some personal throws, but we have a lot of these in our collection. For instance, this is Riviera's poster from last year, which was their inaugural year. They had a Roaring '20s theme. I love their logo, the catfish with a mask. And by the way, if you're not familiar with French, Riviera means river. So, Crew of the River. And this was, I just thought last year's Crew of Janice theme was so pretty. The Magic of Fairy Tales. And that was the poster from last year. Now, next year's parade is going to be Janice Goes to Hollywood. So you're going to see a lot of Marilyn Monroes and a lot of James Deans dressed up. Now, anyone in the crew can ride the floats. The only stipulation is that you have at least 25 gross worth of throws, which is basically, one gross is 144 throws, and it equals to 3,600 throws at the very least. So, and most riders have way more than that. And people always, I hear every year people fussing, well, why don't they ever throw the really good throws? For instance, think about it. The regular throws that you usually catch are about 25 to 50 cents a piece. Something like this I paid about $2.50 a piece for. Some of the better throws can be anywhere from $2 to $4 a piece. The glass beads, like you get in New Orleans, and I'm wearing some, these glass beads can run anywhere between $5 and $10 a piece. So, you really, It's very rare that we'll just throw out the really, really nice beads just into the crowd. I do that sometimes when I'm riding the floats. But I like to throw to like the toddlers, the kids. And just, we love seeing them smile. I like to throw to someone that may catch my attention, be it unusual or really, really enthusiastic about it. So if you want to catch the good beads, have a toddler on your arm, or maybe really stand out from the crowd, because I will say when you're riding the floats, it goes by in a flash. And all you're hearing is a constant roar. You cannot hear somebody yelling at you. You can barely see. So it's very, very difficult to see a friend in these vast crowds because it's going by so fast. But keep that in mind. I miss the doubloons. I have a collection of doubloons. We don't throw them anymore, but the old aluminum doubloons that we used to throw, I have several of those. And each person in the crew, when they arrive at the grand ball, they get what's called a cloisonne. These are very heavy medals, and it's got that year's theme on the front and the Crew of Janus logo on the back. And they're gorgeous. I have a collection personally, and I try to buy a set for my niece and my nephew and for the library's collection as well. This is Monroe history right here. So we have a collection here at the library. Every rider is required to wear a mask. These are some of my personal masks. I like to wear masks to the grand ball as well. I'm one of only one or two people that does that, really, at the grand ball. And the court, when they're introduced at the grand ball, they're required to wear masks too. But everybody that rides these floats have to wear masks. It's required of the crew, except for the king and queen. They don't have to wear masks, and I believe children aren't required to wear masks. People ask, are there bathrooms on board the floats? Yes, there are. We have a little walled off area on each float with the bucket and a seat. And somebody the next day has to pour out the buckets. So it's very, very basic. We aren't allowed to have any open flames. Can you imagine if something caught fire on a float? We usually have some food and snacks on board and some drinks and things. And we have a great time, especially if you ride the float to the staging area. We usually get together all day out at the staging area, and we trade beads, some of the nicer beads. We trade for nice beads. It's just a lot of fun, fun day. It was horrible that it was missed, but like I said, next year we're going to come back bigger and better. We're gonna survive this. Just keep that Mardi Gras spirit going and laissez le bon temps rouler.